Testing 1 2. 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 Testing 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. Testing 1 2. Testing 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. Okay. Testing. Looks like we're good to go now. Testing 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. Okay. Testing 1 2 1 2. I mean, I hear the humming in the background. So, for the time being, I'll turn this off. And I think we should be good to go now. I think I figured out what the problem was. But yeah, I think I figured out what the problem was. Just bear with me 1 second. I'll be right back. All right. So, pretty much believe we're good to go. I just turned the sound off on the speakers because they still get like a little feedback back from that. So, I'm just gonna go to this. I mentioned on the other test about the Osage Nation, which are Gadites that lived or that were given a barren land in Oklahoma. Which here it says, what happened to the Osage Nation? While settlers targeted members of the Osage Nation to steal their land and their riches beneath it, it says at least 60 Osage people were murdered or disappeared between 1921 and 1925. From a historical perspective, this crime made possible by federal policies from the 1800s was just the tip of the iceberg. Yeah, you go all the way back to the beginning of Esau. That's what they do. It says, seeing that, matter of fact, let me get this one in the book of Ezekiel. And this specifically targets Esau, the so-called white man. 35 and 5, Ezekiel 35 and 5, because thou hast had a perpetual hatred and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity. Now this happened back during the time of the Babylonian Empire, but it also happened during the time of the Greeks. It also happened during the time of the Romans, and also happened here in America, which is modern day Babylon or Babylon the Great. It says in the time that their iniquity had an end. Yeah, because you still, persecuting the people of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. That's why in Isaiah 34, it speaks about the controversy of Zion. And the Lord is going to deal with you devils based off of what you've done to his people. Us, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians. You have to pay for that. It says, therefore, as I live, saith Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, I will prepare thee unto blood. Right, so the Lord is building you up to prepare you unto blood. It says, and blood shall pursue thee. If thou have not hated blood, even blood shall pursue thee. So because you since you didn't hate blood, and you pretty much shed blood and continue to shed blood, the Lord is going to visit you for these things. When we go to Revelation 17, Revelation 17 pretty much is speaking about America and all of Esau's empires, beginning with the Greeks, all the way up to the British, into America, and even your European allies. And when we go to the 6th verse, it says, "And I saw the woman, which is America, that harlot, drunken with the blood of the saints." Who are the saints? The Israelites. And how were they drunken with the blood of the saints? Well, when they first came to this land, you had Gad, and you had Reuben here, and you also had Issachar on the soils of what they call today North America. And you slayed and killed them just to get their land. All right, and with the blood of the martyrs of Yahushua, which are the prophets, the teachers, men of the Lord. And when I saw her, I wondered with great admiration. So pretty much you are guilty of the shedding of the blood of the saints or the Israelites of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua, and you will be dealt with. Now, I mentioned in the other test that this tragedy here of the Osage Nation took place the same year as Black Wall Street was burnt to the ground by the same devils, Esau. It wasn't the same exact ones that did this to the Osage Nation or the Gadites, or could be Reuben, but they still did it. It was the same ilk or the same family of Edomites, just different tribes or whatever, however you want to put it. They did the same shit to the Southern Kingdom. This happened to be the Northern Kingdom. And when you go here, I typed in what year was Black Wall Street burned down? 1921. See? The Tulsa Race Massacre, also known as the Tulsa Race Riot or the Black Wall Street Massacre, was a 2-day-long white supremacist terrorist massacre that took place between May 31st and June 1st, 1921, when mobs of white residents, some of whom had been appointed as deputies and armed by city government officials. So these devils, even among the government and police force, they're the ones that came in there and burnt Black Wall Street down to the ground, which happened to be owned by Jake, which were so-called Negroes. And pretty much, you have this thing still to this day of the Southern Kingdom trying to get together, especially here in America, and build up communities. And they just haven't learned their lesson. This what they call Black Wall Street, Rosewood, Seneca Village, and many other instances throughout America where you had thriving so-called black communities, which they're Jews, Israelites, that had so-called thriving black communities that were destroyed by the so-called white men or the Edomites. All right, so this devil doesn't have any remorse. And they do this because they are greedy, as the scriptures say, and they could never have enough. When we go to Habakkuk chapter 2 and 5, it says, "Yea, also because he transgresseth by wine. His wine are his policies, philosophies, his ways." It says he is a proud man, and there's none prouder than the so-called white men, the Edomites, especially from the top down, the so-called elite banking families. Neither keepeth at home, right? And they don't stay here in America. They're all over in everybody's business all around the world. Whether you go to so-called Africa, you go to Australia, you go to Europe, you go to Asia, you go to Greenland, you go to Canada, you go to South America, the Caribbean islands, wherever you go on the planet, they are there. And you better believe that their intentions of being there are to pretty much take the resources of those different nations, looking or finding ways to try to get the resources from those nations. It says, "Who enlarges his desire as hell," right? Because they have what? The whole entire planet. The scriptures say that the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. So the Most High gave this land to these devils, this whole world pretty much to these devils. And they are ruling and controlling everything on the planet. And this is why they putting a stranglehold on the world as far as, this whole digital system is concerned, to pretty much, keep the whole world trapped in a prison. So if you don't comply with the mandates that they push out there, you're going to get locked out of the system. And the majority of Israelites here and the majority of American people in America, a very good portion of them do not have the skills to survive outside of the government produced living that you see today. It says, and is as death, because they can never have enough and cannot be satisfied, right? They can't be satisfied, just like the graves and death are never filled. This is the insatiable greed of these devils. They can never have enough. It says, but he gathereth unto him all nations. Why? Because they're pushing for a so-called New World Order. The motto for the New World Order is what? E pluribus unum, which is a Latin phrase, out of many one. And that's what they're trying to do, trying to gather all nations, or are gathering, not trying, they're gathering all nations together for this one world system. It says, and heapeth unto him all people. Shall not these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his? Right, so they are increasing that which is not his, and this is why you have situations like Black Wall Street or Tulsa, Oklahoma, the Black Wall Street massacre. You have the Osage Nation, which 60 of the members, were pretty much murdered, And the ones that disappeared that they never found, guess what? They were also murdered, because these were heirs to that land. And these devils, once they found out that there was oil there, they came and took them out and destroyed them, just so that they can get that land back after they gave them that land, because they believed the land to be barren. These devils don't play by the rules. They're just that, devils. All right, so let's go back to Habakkuk. It says, how long? And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay. The thick clay part is the extreme debt, that heavy debt that they have. And pretty much they have pushed that or imposed that debt upon the world by way of these Federal Reserve notes, which are what you call dollar bills or money, which is not really money. Money is not paper. Money is substance, land, slaves, goods, cattle, and things of that nature. It says, and to him that ladeth himself with the thick clay, shall they not rise up suddenly that shall bite thee? Yeah, because the Lord is going to put the spirit on these nations to rise up against you. And even Jake, in America is going to rise up against you, because they're pretty much backed into a corner. And when you back somebody in the corner, they're going to come out swinging eventually. It says, and awake that shall vex thee, and thou shalt be for booties unto them. Yeah, booties represents spoils of war. Because you will be spoiled. And eventually, once America is destroyed, all of the debt that the world owes America, they're not going to have to pay it back. But then they think that they're going to continue on ruling. But guess what? That's when they're going to go into captivity. So pretty much the future for America is destruction, and the future for the nations of the world is captivity. The so-called white man, which the Bible identifies as the Edomites, they will be in captivity for a period of 1,000 years, and then after that 1,000-year period, they will be rounded up, every last one of them. There will be nobody missed, and they will be burnt. A great bonfire is going to happen. If you want to read more about that, you can go to Obadiah and read the whole chapter. It's one chapter long, but that chapter is, it says a whole lot. And within that chapter, it also speaks about these nations going into captivity too. And many other places in the scriptures where you could read about the nations going into captivity and being ruled with a rod of iron. So with that, I hope you brothers and few sisters have been edified. To the next time I say Shalom. I believe I fixed the problem on this. So Shalom.